Hey Gaurav, how are you doing?
Abhishek, I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm super excited, dude. I'm finally able to have you. I wanted to have you as a first guest, and I'm not done with like 12 episodes. So,
I'm sorry about it, but I think
eh, no,
life
I'm
happens.
glad the logistics have worked out. So it's really good to have
Yeah.
you. And now you are head of information security and IT at Upwind Security. It's very interesting. We know each other since 2018, I
Yeah,
think.
it's been a while, man. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's back in the Uber days. I remember like we didn't connect as much when you were at Uber, but I think we started I really get to know you when you got bolster in at Bill.com. And the interactions I had, like I was really amazed the level of depth you had, and which was just beyond sort of your role of, running stock operations. Like you thought of systems widely and very, very deeply. And every time I think about you, it's like really, you're in the background doing all the hard work. You're like unsung heroes of the security world and now the IT world. And I really, hopefully you get in front and center. And I think people who know you personally know the level of depth and capability you have. So, and I'm really looking forward, Gaurav, to this conversation because early on our conversations used to be very detection and response, and now you have really, really big responsibility. And you're on your way to become CIO very soon. I just probably check my text message every 5 minutes when I'll hear the good news. So it's just really that perspective. What I want to learn from you, how that has shifted, managing a SOC team to now having like an organization responsibility and driving enterprise value. So I would love to explore that today. And welcome again.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, exciting changes. And I mean, as you grow in your career, you see a lot of things coming on your plate. I really enjoy scaling the programs, building operational excellence into the program. Detection response was amazing, still amazing. I love it. I'm really passionate about that space. But there is a lot more we can do. We can apply the same concepts that we have learned in the SOC on any of the other operational work that we do. On the IT side, there is help desk, there's a lot of operational work. You can just apply the exact same playbook, little differently, looking at it from different perspective on the IT side of things, and it just works like magic.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting. I'm curious, on that note, Gaurav, you've been in security for a very, very long time, and now you're Upwind, a much broader role. Upwind is sort of the newest, very well-known security startup. Now, when you think about AI and agents today, how are you thinking differently than just thinking about detection and response, right?
Yeah, I think one of the key things that I spend a lot of time about, and I used to think about previously that how we can go faster. Directional response is all about speed. That how we can quickly detect, how we can quickly respond to something. That was the whole point. And now I think what's happening with the newer AI coming into the picture is that we have to think about that what things we can do which was not possible before, right? So that was a main differentiation that I'm seeing with AI. And I think we have used automation in the past. We have people who have been spending a lot of operational time in building workflows and getting things done quickly. But now AI has changed the dynamics completely. We always had data. In the SOC, it's all about the data. We have collecting like terabytes of logs for a very long time. We were investigating it. We were not using the entire data set that we have. We were not using the harnessing the power of that. I'm very excited that with all the data that we're collecting over the years, now with AI and machine learning, we can really leverage it and use it for the betterment of the entire program, entire organization, and bring more enterprise value on the table.
And how do you think about sort of what would be an example, Gaurav, beyond detection and response and beyond security and sort of your broader capabilities, where you would, how do you think, I mean, you did a lot of other things other than security, right? So where do you see an application of something like this?
So many areas. I think it's the way now the entire enterprise as a whole is thinking about the entire operations of the enterprise is changing with AI coming in, right? Previously, the apps that used to be just straightforward SaaS-based apps, now they're converting their entire operations into agentic-based AI. And I mean, agent is not about like just querying the data and getting the report. It's beyond that. It's about taking actions. It's about like going from point A to point B to point C in different scenarios, right? I mean, a user can come in and say like, "Hey, I want to achieve this." Now, AI agents can smartly learn those skill and understand the question, use the historical context, use the memory, use how it has been done in the past, and use additional logic to basically do things in much more efficient and more productive way, I would say. So the implementation, I would say security is a little bit behind. Security teams are usually very conservative. We accept technology, but we accept it with a grain of salt. I mean, we say like, okay, we're going to bring in the data, but what if the data is not correct? It can cause problems. There are some when you're a security professional, you think about new technology slightly differently. But enterprise wide, I think it's about execution. I think it's doubling, tripling, quadrupling down the speed at which things are happening now. And it's very exciting time to be in the tech right now.
Yeah, yeah, completely agree, Gaurav. I think I may have a counterpoint on. I know security is slow, but if you think about number of automation and store platforms of security, they're more than any other operations, or at least they're newer startups. So let me put it this way, right? You have RPA, you have business process automation companies, which are like two decades plus old, and security is the one which has like modern companies. Even IT, you have service now, which is 2 decades old, right? So so sort of the counterpoint is all the other operations are way behind because there was not a need and urgency to respond in the manner as we do in security, right? So like when you think about, let's say, IT in your current responsibility, where do you see it lagging behind in security, if you do at all?
Yeah, I mean, so IT, the way people do IT is very traditional and old school in majority of the companies, right? It's a very fragmented industry. It's a very standard way of doing things. IT tends to be very conservative with a lot of things, and I think with all the new startups coming in, with all the new technology coming in, I think there is a lot of value. I mean, now we see the enterprise search tools all across the companies. Productivity and digital experience are the two main focuses right now. That how, as an IT professional, you can improve the experience of the employees on doing their normal things, and how you can make it quick, right? And touchless is the next big thing, right? How you can make things in a seamless way where you achieve your objectives in a secured way with giving the world class experience to the employees and solving their problem really quickly, right? So that's a tough mix. I mean, IT and security is a little bit on the two different sides. Where one really on IT side we really care about the experience, and on security side we really care about securing things, right? So bringing them together and making it work is really a very interesting challenge that I'm looking forward to. And I'm enjoying in my current role that I get a chance to do both.
Yeah, I'm curious. I think you mentioned speed a few times, Gaurav. So when you think about AI solution, do you really do you prioritize speed or do you prioritize enterprise value? Does speed necessarily always drive enterprise value?
So it's an interesting question. It depends on what part of process you're talking about. I mean, so for example, onboarding, offboarding, provisioning access to tool, I think those should be done very fast, very quickly. I don't think that you should spend because those are established process. There's less risk involved. But when you think about something new that you want to bring in, and that's where you really spend time, you really think that how what you can do to bring the enterprise value and immediate ROI on the investments that you're making. At the end of the day, all the companies work for profit. They want to maximize their customer experience, employee experience, make more employee more productive. How IT and InfoSec can contribute to it in a way where they are not being seen as a bottleneck, but also a business enabler, right? So that's the angle that we take often. But for smaller things which are more operational in nature, I think you can just get it done quickly. You can do it with AI, you can do it with automation. There are multiple ways to do it. But when you want to bring something big to the organization, I think that's where I think a lot of value comes from spending more time and doing it the right way.
basic everyday processes like employee onboarding in a large organization, which have like 20 step, the biggest ROI comes from speeding it because there's so many touches, right? And making sure, I mean, the moment we bring in agents and streamlining process, speed automatically comes in.
Plus, at the same time, I mean, if you look at like if you go back like a decade ago, it was all manual. You know, somebody will get you notification that this employee is joining. Somebody fills out a Google form. Then every step is very manual, time consuming. It's a repeatable process, right? A lot of people who are from IT help desk, they don't feel good about it. I mean, it's the same process they do every time. And when you do same things over the time as a human, you tend to lose track of certain things. You can miss out on the steps. You can get tired. You might not have a good day. What I would like to propose an industry is going in that direction is that make it touchless, make it very easy, and use human to do more valued work. You know, I mean, make sure that they're building the process. They're making sure that all the steps are done correctly. They're also validating everything. So basically, more high quality work, more challenging work that humans should do, and step by step automation process should be taken care of by IT agents, where you can bring in agents, you can teach them skills, and they can do the things for you.
And Gaurav, as you think about, let's say you go into a new organization, so I mean, up when you're relatively new, right, and you have a pretty broad portfolio, how are you thinking about which processes need agents?
It completely depends on the organization size, the structure, the way at stage that we are getting in. But I think most of the process which are operationally manual needs to be taken care of through agents. You know, anything which is repeatable, agents can probably replace that, and you can leverage human to do more interesting stuff, do more advanced stuff on top of it, right? And that's how the industry has been growing over the years. It was automation before AI. It was basically like macros if you look into Excel a while ago. So we have been taking small steps over the years to achieve that. Now I think it's we are accelerating really fast with the AI coming into the picture, you know, with the AI agents coming into the picture. So I think that's will be the outcome, that all the steps, like majority of the operational stuff will be like will be handled through AI, and human will focus on more advanced stuff.
As you think about Upwind, Gaurav, I don't know if you can answer. We can take an hypothetical company. It's like, how would you even go around uncovering those processes? Upwind is still a startup, but if you go join another public company as CIO, what would your step looks like? Because the most manual processes may not be in IT and security because they're somewhat automated, right? Like you have these systems, it may be some business process, some supply chain issue, and there are different stakeholders involved, right? So how you as the leader who is responsible for driving the enterprise value, what is your process looks like?
Yeah, I mean, there are two sides of it. The first is go on a listening tour. First 90 days in the companies, then talk to leaders, talk to people who are under the leaders, talk to all the key decision makers, make your notes, identify the bottlenecks. And I mean, as an IT leader, it's very important for us to make things available for our teams to do to improve the value, right? So like, bringing the right tools, bringing them at the right pricing, and making it available enterprise wide, identifying which teams need it, identifying the combination of the same tool may be required by multiple teams to achieve multiple objectives, right? So bringing that is more about talking to people, learning about their current processes, documenting it. I personally like to take a lot of notes. So I do handwritten notes. And the reason why I do it, because when I write something, I remember it for a longer time. So I use that approach. You can use whatever tool you need. There are a lot of modern tech like Obsidian where you can connect things together. So there are so many ways to do it, but it's mainly about talking to more people. And I personally like to meet people in person. Zoom is amazing, but it's very transactional. You ask question, people respond to it. They might not open up completely. So it's about like going, meeting people, building the trust, talking to them again, asking more questions in first few months of the job. And then once you know all the details, then you start implementing solution. And once you establish that kind of reputation, then people naturally come to you to basically tell you like, hey, we are struggling with this one, how IT or infrastructure can help, and then that framework always works.
I mean, that makes sense, Gaurav. You and I have both dealt with enterprises, right? It's a very good, I would say, aspirational thing to host. Like, oh, we're going to go talk to people, and they're going to say, it's like, hey, Gaurav, this is my problem. I can tell you personally, I've done something very similar when I was at Cisco, using AI to automate work. And the amount of resistance you see and the way people will view you, even people reporting to you, would be huge. Nobody's going to say to you, Gaurav's like, Gaurav, this is great. But deep down, Gaurav, I think, and this is a sort of philosophy I came up with, and I could be completely off. I think a lot of people are talking about people at the, first line workers, or who should be worried. I think the problem is on the flip side. People at the highest levels, who don't bring in automation, who are sort of managing these teams, how would they adopt? The first line workers are sort of earlier in their age, then they can quickly adapt, right? So the more resistance you will see in at organization level, especially when you go to these uh, sort of non-barrier companies at the highest level, where as we get older, speed to learn becomes slower, or we're not like the even changes are so fast, even when you are AI. So you're going to see a lot of resistance, Gaurav, right? And if I'm wrong, I would love to hear your perspective. How do you manage that as a leader?
So two sides, right? If I'm a part of the organization, I had to I just don't have to tell how to show them, right? I have to implement first in my teams and show what things we can achieve with it, and what efficiency gains we had, and then probably share that findings with the other teams so that they can out comfortably. They know that somebody has done it in the organization in a way. So you have to be the champion. That's number one, right? For the tech you're bringing. And with IT, you have to always be on forefront of the technologies for yourself and for the organization. For infosec, you have to do the same thing but with security in mind always, right? So it's a really great combination. But if you're talking about external companies and I mean, I know that things were difficult few years ago, but now with AI coming in and pretty much all the other enterprise adopting it, there's an inherent pressure on all the leadership teams too, where they also want to be on the forefront of tech rather than lagging behind. There's more acceptance now than it was few years ago. So that is definitely a good thing. And then it's all about telling the story. It's all about showing the data. It's all about showing the results. And people don't like complicated things. I think tech should be all about making things simpler. The simpler process you have, the simpler tool you can show them, that will achieve the maximum results. I often go back to the Pareto principle of 2080, where you put in 20% of effort and you get like 80% of the results. If somebody can show that, I think that's a great strategy where you don't have to use a lot of resourcing. And based on my experience, most of the people who are junior in their career, that are in the early stage of their career, they're more hungry to learn new things. I think they are not thinking about that AI is going to come and take their role. They're thinking about how they can use it to improve their job and how they can learn more skills. So yeah, there is challenges. It depends on the organization too. But I think there is on the brighter side, there is definitely a good opportunity with the AI advancements we are seeing in the recent times.
Yeah, Gaurav. So I think I get the younger part absolutely, right? Like, let's imagine somebody's 50, 55 years old in HR or finance or operations. There is a real risk, when you start automating their work, people will ask, like, why I'm paying 300, $400,000 to this manager or this, director. How do you manage that risk? And people may say, I think one thing I agree that there's a huge board level and CEO level buy-in to drive value, but then you have reality on the ground that you have to deal with. And how do you manage that?
Back in the days, I remember I used to have a small ERP company with my father back in India, and we used to work with people who don't even have a software. They just do things manually, right? And I used to hear the same questions at the same time that, hey, you want to bring in software to me? I have to do everything. I don't know how to train people. It's just so hard. I don't want to talk to it, right? But at that time, it was challenging. But then I think a few years later, we saw all of them using it now, right? So it's just a matter of time. It's just that there is always some resistance to adopting something new. Why do something new when something is already working, right? So that's the mentality that comes in. But you have to be more persistent in showing the value. It's all about showing the value. It's all about showing the data. It's all about creating the efficiency. And it's all about building the champion. I mean, the leader may not agree, but if the people who are under the leader agree with the tech you're bringing in, I think they might just make a case for it and change the mind of the person, right? So I've seen that. I've done it myself in multiple places where we got resistance and we have to make a case for it. But it's really about like building a champion, becoming a partner, and showing that how your tool is really going to solve the problem for them. Uh, so yeah, I mean that's my view on that. Yeah.
But Gaurav, what if they don't exist after solving the problem? That's the real risk you run versus doing an ERP system, right? So I don't think, I think the fear comes from people know the value AI can bring. Yes, I mean, it's far from perfect. There's a lot of things need to be done right, in order to automate even basic work, right? So it's non-trivial effort, but still, people who are the champions, who want to champion, may end up risking their jobs. And I mean, if you look at the job market recently, it's not the best. So I'm very optimistic. I mean, I agree with you. Transition will happen and we'll move through. But this may be one of the biggest transitions that we see. How do we as leaders, or me, trying to go sell to enterprises, manage this, difference?
Yeah, I mean, if you, it's similar to what when the computers came in. Right? I mean, everything used to be manual, and people think that hey, once computer will come in, they're going to take our job. But that never happened. There is always new jobs that comes up. At the end of the day, it's all about upleveling yourself, adopting the tech rather than resisting it. So people need to understand that, and I think most of the people do these days with all the tech coming in. So hopefully things will get better. But yeah, I hear about all the news all the time, and people are worried about bringing in something new. They're more risk averse now because, as if you see from business perspective, companies also wants to reduce their operational cost, and they're doing it in different ways. They're bringing in tech and not really hiring a lot of folks. And using tech to solve a lot of problems. So definitely challenges. But then on the brighter side, there are teams which are like machine learning teams, which are more engineering teams, which are building the tech for the company. Those areas are growing. So it's not really that the budget is going away. It's just rebalancing of the budget in the areas which enable the business more. So yeah, I mean, it's a trade-off that we all have to live with. I don't think it's going to exist for a very long time. People are just going to get used to it, adopt it, and uplevel themselves. And then AI will probably come into every single domain of the industry. And most of the teams who have data will need some sort of an engineering capability to do the work.
Would it make sense, Gaurav, as you go talk to these leaders in the key roles where you can see 10x ROI, talk to leadership and sort of assure them that your role is not going away and then start the discussion to bring them fully on the table?
Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, if so the way I look at it is that the work is not finite. It's not like that you can only do this. There are more things you can go beyond. Um, it's leaders' job to take it that way. If they're only finiting themselves in a box, it's a challenge. You have to explore that. Hey, if I do this, if I solve this, what other things I can take on? What other areas I can solve? How I can make the enterprise more efficient? I I really don't agree with this concept that the jobs are going away. It's just that the more work will get done in less amount of time. So it's just the mindset that needs to change, and it's an exciting time. I mean, there are so many new things that we can do which we could have never done before. With all the AI coming.
And on that thing that you bring up, Gaurav, how do you think about, when you're hiring, what kind of people are you hiring right now? Right? Like in an operations role, you need an operations person. Then the AI is coming, and if you get an AI person to do operations role, they're not going to stay more than 3 months. So, as a leader for you, it's a very interesting situation. And how do you think about it? How do you manage it? What are you doing today?
It is, one thing that I really like to see in the folks that I work with is how open they are in adopting new tech. We have been in the industry for such a long time, and every few years there will be new tech that's going to come up, and that's the nature of it. Is change is the only constant thing. So how open you are to change, because every company is going to be different, every team is going to be different, every different person, every uh, and leaders comes and go. I mean, but how comfortable you are in adopting the change, and how do you look at it? Basic skills people can acquire. Most of the people that I with, they have the basic skill to do the job. It's the attitude that makes the difference. That how open you are, how positive you are, how excited you are about the new tech. Even if you look at the security industry, there are not a lot of tools like 6, 7 years ago. There are standard set of tools that you always buy, but the level of innovation that's happening in just the security domain is incredible. Same for IT. It used to be very standard, but the innovation now is tremendous. And one thing that's very important is that you do that. Yeah. So and I see it as a growth. I mean, if I hire somebody and if they do their job, but if they do more, I give them more work. I give them more responsibility. Like I think that's a growth path for their career. So it's a really good thing.
If I take that, Gaurav, you would basically hire an operations person who is willing to learn AI versus the other way around.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see. So I'm curious, Gaurav, as you meet a lot of people know you, right? When you talk to CIOs and security leaders, when you think about AI and agentic AI, what do you think they're getting it wrong? And it's like, where do you see, they talk to multiple vendors, you talk to multiple vendors, and not just the leaders. And where do you think startups are getting it wrong?
So two couple of places. First is they're looking at AI as an automation, which it is, but it is more than that. It is way more than that. I mean, you can still automate big workforce and all that sort of things, right? But now you're doing it in an intelligent way. Most of the people's reference point is all the LLM apps, which can generate data for you, but that's very reactive. You ask a question, they respond to you. They don't do work for you. So that's the challenge that a lot of people have there in mind when they think about AI, they think about LLMs. And LLMs is just a part of the puzzle. When you think about AI, you have to think about the agents, you have to think about the skills the agent will have. You have to think about the scenarios where the agent can go and make decisions for you, right? So that's one part where there is a learning required. The second thing is that people might not have the right data that they want, that the agent can consume to take those actions, right? So I do think that while the tech is going to work, evolve, there is still a lot of learning, especially on our team side, where we talk very excitedly about the tech, but we have to do a lot of underlying work ourselves. So that is a big gap. You can bring in the tech, you can try doing few use cases with it, but you will never harness the real power of the tool or the technology until you have all the right underlying framework behind it, right? And framing behind it.
But wouldn't that take, Gaurav, take a long time? I mean, just if you think about large organizations, would you wait for having the underlying framework, or would you start experimenting? How do you think about that?
So both. You can't really. It's not like one or the other. It's not like a step-by-step process. You have to do multiple things at the same time. On one end, you're exploring the cutthroat technology. At the same time, you're also doing the underlying work, right? So that's what very important. And I think over the time, maybe in like a year or so, you have a culmination where you say, okay, I have all this data that I needed. I have all the tech that I've done. Now let's merge them and see how we can leverage it to do more.
And just taking that step forward, when startups come to you, which startups like do you think is getting it right, and which startups are missing it?
Yeah, I won't name names, but
Yeah, and no, I don't need the names. I'm just
yeah.
like want like general sort of traits, or when you hear their pitches.
Yeah, I think I like the startups who are thinking 2 years ahead of the time.
Mhm.
So that's a really good thing because a lot of the times people, those are the startups who makes the real difference, and the startups that can show me the value of the tool that they're bringing. So there are different levels, there are different needs, there are different areas where their companies are solving problems. Some startups are super simple; they do point solutions that hey, here's your problem, we're gonna solve it. You buy the tool, you solve it. And there are some startups you're thinking in bigger, like a platform, they're just completely going to come and transform stuff. And there are a third category of a startup we are really thinking advance ahead of the time. And those are the ones which are challenging the current processes that we're thinking. I like those startups. I mean, if you look at any of the large tech, uh, we are large tech organization. Most of them are the one where they've challenged something which was the status quo and brought it back on the table and then completely transformed the industry.
Yeah, I completely agree, Gaurav. I think there's an opportunity to think very, very long term, but as a startup, it becomes also very difficult to deploy in the customer's environment, right? Early stage, they don't know you. It's like you're coming, it's like, oh, Gaurav, like we're going to do this way. And where do you find the balance of thinking about the future and meeting the customer where they are? How I as a startup one should balance that?
Yeah, I mean, so there are different levels of customers also, right? I mean, obviously there is enterprise, Fortune 500, Global 2000, there are startups. So you have to really mid-market, digital natives, all sort of categorizations you can do when it comes to customers, right? As a startup, you have to find really a sweet spot that which are the companies that are really going to adopt your tech. And then obviously there is a different type of leadership in each of these enterprises. I mean, most of the big organizations which are enterprise, they tend to value tenure a lot, and most of the leaders who are there have been there for a long for a while. So that's one category, and then all the other smaller categories that we have, right? So as a founder of a startup, you have to really find a sweet spot that what's my target audience, who will be the companies that will adopt my tech, and then go from there and build from there. So that will be my advice. I have watched companies back at Uber, that back at Bill, here at Upwind, at Apple, even at EY. So different times I meet with different vendors, and different companies thinks differently too. I mean, once you work for a larger organization like the Fortune 10, they have a completely different way of doing things. They might want to build the tech themselves, right? Rather than buying it. So different companies have different resourcing, and they have the different needs.
Yeah, I mean, after to buy something, it's just better with them building themselves. Like the vendor cost would be so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So changing questions. This is great, Gaurav. I think I can talk, for hours with you. There's so many questions I have. In the interest of time, I'm going to shift to rapid fire questions. So these are sort of surprise questions.
Okay.
Uber, Bill, Upwind. Rank them by intensity of your first 90 days.
I would say that's a really, really tough question. I think all three were completely different. Uber had a whole different set of problems. By the way, I enjoyed my first 90 days in all of these companies, and they were not easy, right? None of them were easy, right? It's all very tough. Because when you join a company, especially in the security team, and I joined each of them at different stages, and each of them operates differently. It's going to be very hard for me to pick one because there are different problems that are solved in different areas. But I think exciting times you go and you learn things and then you drive there. Um, yeah, I mean, Uber was definitely, if I have to really pick, I think Uber was really the difficult one for me to start. Uh, it was in a whole different state when I joined it. Uh, I won't go in details, but Uber was, if you go and Google it around the time I joined in 2017, it was a company that was really at a different state. And me coming from Apple at that point and having Uber was still like a huge company, but they were still called themselves startups, more than 7,000 people, 10,000 people at that point. So it was still has a different DNA. But yeah, that was very interesting. And then I think we moved from there. Um, Bill was a very interesting company. We have to build the entire program from there, but it's still a company that existed for a long time. And Upwind is a hyper growth mode right now. I mean, we just doubled the number of people in last 6 months, right? So it's growing extremely fast. So things are moving at a rapid pace.
So now the second question: worst alert you ever got that woke you up at 3 a.m.
Um, there are a lot of them I can go into, but I mean, somebody configured the geographical improbable location alert. It's a very common alert where it's geographically improbable for you to go into location within a certain time of frame, but they didn't exclude the VPNs into that. So a couple of times it fired, and I was just stopped by it.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. What do you think about security Twitter on X? So basically, the security conversations. Do you think they are valuable signal or just pure chaos?
I enjoy it. I mean, it's a conversation of both. We just have to follow the right people to know who's having the conversation. Some of them is more of I would call it fun in a way. I mean, it's more of a inserting a fear into the people. If you do the security right, I think you're in a good place. And if you have the right intent and if you continue to work towards the organization, it's always a good signal. But I enjoy reading it. I enjoy reading Reddit. I enjoy reading reading X.com, Blue Sky, you name it. Everywhere. I read all stuff all the time.
You need entertainment in your life after such crazy job, right?
Yeah, I mean, you always take something from it. I mean, it's a different perspective. Maybe not wrong. Maybe completely irrelevant, but at least somebody's talking about it. I mean, and I like the fact that people talk about security, right or wrong, doesn't matter. At least you're taking the profession forward when you have that kind of a conversation, right? So it's always important for us to acknowledge that fact that people should talk about it, and then you can always correct them later on if you do.
Your boss will kill me for this question, but I'm still going to ask it. CIO or CISO as your next role, and why?
Well, I haven't decided it yet, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's not a decision that I'll just take in isolation. That yeah, it's about the opportunity that comes in front of me. But yeah, I'm open to all of it. I mean, I want to work. I want to do a good job. I want to excel in what I'm doing, and I mean, whatever the opportunity comes in, I'll just work with.
Yeah, I think I expected that answer from you, Gaurav. Very diplomatic, very proper. Okay, last question. Gaurav, your favorite restaurant in the Bay Area?
So many of them. It keeps changing. The chef change and the entire menu changes. I don't like a particular restaurant, to be honest. I like the dishes in the restaurant, right? Some restaurants make certain dish really well and they don't do other things properly. So I keep trying a lot of restaurants. I cannot name you one, but I think I mainly go out and eat a lot of different cuisines. Italian is something that I really enjoy. Indian food, and I'm vegetarian, by the way. So I don't really have a lot of options when I go to a restaurant. So yeah, I mean, dishes in the restaurants, not the restaurant itself.
Okay, Gaurav, this is your last meal. You have to pick a restaurant in the Bay Area.
Okay, I think maybe in recent times I like Jack's a lot. That's where I go on the raw. I mean,
In Santa Clara.
Santa Clara. I think I met you there as well once. Good restaurant. They have a good they have a
Yeah.
good menu, and it keeps
Yeah.
changing. So it's a good one.
I didn't realize they keep changing. Jackson's is a good restaurant. I enjoyed, when our office, our office is still there, when I was there, I went there many times. It's a pretty good restaurant. Yeah. Yeah, this has been great, Gaurav. I wish we can continue longer. We will get you another time once we figure out which path are you going. And
Let's do that.
thank you for coming on, man. It was a blast. Good to see you.
It was great talking to you, Abhishek. Always a pleasure. And yeah, fun. Let's keep doing this more. And I keep watching your other podcasts too. I really enjoy them. So I really wish you the best, and then keep doing this more.
Yeah, thank you for suffering on my behalf. I don't even watch my own podcast. So,
No, no, no.
yeah, thanks, Gaurav. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing.